Tami, and welcome to this week's video. And today's video is about learning to live like a pauper but save like a king. What do I mean by that? Well, why don't you stay tuned and let's dive into this topic together as I share my thoughts and a little bit of tricks that I've learned along the way to help you save like a king. Many people are struggling today to make ends meet, and I am not immune to that. I definitely have been there and done that. I have hit rock bottom a few times in my life, and I know what the struggle is like, especially when you have a small paycheck and a whole month to go before you get paid again. But I'll tell you what, through the years, I was always against savings. Not that I didn't want to save, it's just that I really didn't know how to save. My thoughts were always, I need to make more money. I got to make more money in order to save. And I'm not making any more money, so therefore I can't save. And I think that's the mentality of a lot of people today, is that unless they're making more than what they have now, that they'll never be able to have a retirement account or an emergency fund. And that's really, really not true. I was blinded about that as well. But I'll tell you what, it's really, through the years from what I've learned, it's really about not how much you make, but how much you save. And to even go further than that, it's not how much you save, it's how you live. What's your lifestyle? And can you afford it? And can you be humble enough to actually cut back and save for what really matters to you, not only now, but for your future self? So let's look at an example. Okay, so let's say, for instance, you make $13 an hour. And that's being probably generous, considering in America, people are fighting to get out of the minimum wage paying jobs, which are around $7.50, maybe $8 an hour. 13 seems like a lot, but really, the poverty line in America, if you're not making any more than $15 an hour, you're not going to get above the poverty line. It's something that I read online recently, and it's sad because so many people want to save money. So many people want a retirement account. So many people want to have an emergency fund for when their car breaks down, but they just can't see the light. They don't understand how to save money, and nobody's really taught them. So it's not really their fault. In their minds, it's like, the more money I have, the better off I'll be. But is that really true? Think about that. Is that really true? Well, I learned the hard way. And then one day, it just hit me like a rock. I was actually starting to write down what money was coming in and how much was going out. That's step one. Know what you got coming in and know what bills you have that you're paying out. Because, you know, if you have subscriptions to, say, Netflix, Hulu, HBO, Spotify, all these little charges, $10, $15 a month for these subscriptions, actually adds up. And it's not just that. I mean, I know I love my entertainment, but it's like, what can you live with now, and what can you cut out? What is it that could satisfy your entertainment needs now, and what can you get rid of to save money? So I think the first step in actually saving like a king is knowing the flow of your money. So let's say you write down, you know exactly what you're making per week or monthly. I usually write down bi-weeklies. My checks come in bi-weekly, and I put the date, I put the amount, And then I look at all my bills and I write down what I have to pay and when I have to pay it. And then I document it on a calendar so that I never miss a payment. Then I subtract all my debts from the money that I have coming in. Now the next question is, am I zeroed out? Do I have less money to spend? Am I completely broke, or do I have more money to spend after I pay my bills? Right? You got to know where you stand. That's step one. So once you calculate that and you understand where you stand on your bills and how much money you have left, if you have no money left over, then you've got to definitely rearrange your lifestyle. It's not about making more money. It's about how you save and invest that counts, and how you live. So if you're living in an apartment that you can't afford, or a mortgage that you got into you can't afford, and you know that's a big chunk of your money that comes in every month, well, then you got to sit down and say, well, if I can't make any more money, how can I reduce my debt? Well, one thing is, if you can do it, is move to a cheaper apartment, right? If you have to do it on your own, or move into your mom and dad's place, or your sisters, or your brother, I mean, whoever you can, until you can actually accumulate more money and get back out on your own, if that's possible. If it's not possible, then you got to start to think outside the box and say, well, I need to bring more money in and reduce my debt. What about taking on a roommate, or two, or three? They can help you split the expenses of the rent and utilities. You come to an agreement with them. Let's say you have two roommates and you total up the rent with the bills for that apartment, and everybody agrees to pay a third of the total cost. Well, now, look at that. You have just reduced your debt by 2/3. So that can help you save money. Of course, you got to pick the right roommates. So that I leave up to you. There's never a true method on picking the right roommate to help you with your bills. So the next step, once you got that down, and now let's say you're looking at a spreadsheet with your flow of money coming in and going out, and you're like, okay, I actually have $200, just hypothetically, I have $200 left over at the end of the month. And that's after covering my gas for my car, transportation expenses, and food. Gotta have that, right? And maybe a little money, to enjoy yourself and go out to a bar, go out to a restaurant a little bit. But you better cut back on that too. You don't want to be doing that every weekend, or you are going to use up all the money you have left over and you won't be able to save. So here is where the theme of today's video comes in: to live like a pauper, but save like a king. So let's say I got that extra bread, that extra $200 left over at the end of the month. You know what I'm going to do with it? I'm going to open up a savings account. If I don't already have an emergency savings account started, then that is step one. You're going to take that excess money and not spend it. You're going to pretend it doesn't exist. And then you're going to put it in a savings account or a jar, whatever you'd like to do. I think it's safer to go in a savings account with a bank. Now the next question is, how much money do I need to save for an emergency fund? Everybody is it's a subjective answer. Everybody's different on that. For example, for me, if I absolutely lost my job and I needed to get by for a year, I figured I could live on $1,000 a month. I could definitely humble myself from where I'm at now, and I could strategically move into a cheaper place and live off $1,000 a month. And that's everything: rent, bills, everything. I have a backup plan where I know I can go and live safely. So My calculation is that I would need $1,000 a month for a year. So I need to save $12,000 for a year. So it may seem impossible and it may take you years to do it, but if you diligently were able to put away money every single month, any excess money that came into your hands that you didn't need, well, then you tuck it away into your savings account until you hit that magic number that you need for your emergency savings. So that's step 2. Build up your emergency savings. Now, let's say you've already done that, okay? You've definitely mastered budgeting. You've learned to live below your means. And you have put away enough money strategically to support you for a year in your emergency savings fund. Well, does it stop? Can I spend the money? No, because here's step 3 that's going to help you to grow your money. It's the step that actually will catapult you as high as you can possibly go. What is that? It's called investing. It's the world of investing. Any extra money you have beyond your emergency savings account should be invested. Stocks, bonds, gold, silver, crypto, if you want to get into that. But the main thing is diversity. Learn to diversify within your stock portfolio. If you don't know what that is, then I highly recommend that you start educating yourself, and you can do it. You don't need to go to a financial advisor unless you want to. My recommendation is just to go on Google. Or, you can look up, like, say, for instance, a big stockbroker's Vanguard. Go on their websites. They have free resources that can actually educate you in the world of investing. Then, once you start to understand and you start to invest in your own knowledge so that you can invest in your future, now you're ready to move. You're ready to open up accounts. Usually, they don't take any more than $100 to open some accounts. And if you got that extra $200, bam, you got an account that you can open up with a stockbroker, or you can buy stocks on your own. It's up to you, really, what you want to do with the rest of that money. But that is called passive income. It's the best money in the world. It's what the rich love to do. They don't work for the money. The money works for them, right? What do you think they do? They buy real estate. They buy stocks and bonds. They invest in companies. And then their money grows into more than the principal they put in. Now, of course, this goes without saying, there are risks involved with investing. Some are very high and some are very low. So it's all dependent on your tolerance on what you can do as far as the stock market going up and down. What can you take as a person? Where's your panic level? In other words, do you have a high threshold for shock? Or, can you ride the wave of money? Even if your stocks start sinking, maybe in a month, maybe within a year, they're going to come back up and grow even more. So the next question is, what's your time? How long do you want that money in those funds? Do you want it till you retire? Do you want it to last beyond retirement? So the key to all of this, to learn to be humble. Take 1/3 of your money. Like if you're making $13 an hour, then you've got to look for an apartment with roommates or whatever you need to do. You need to budget as if you only make $10 an hour, okay? And you're going to take 1/3 of that money per hour, $3 an hour, 40 hours a week, for example. If you work 40 hours, it's $120 a week. Think about that. Think about that. 120 a week, that's $240 every 2 weeks. And what is that? $480 a month? automatically saved. And like I said, before you know it, you'll have your emergency savings because you have a plan. You'll cap it. You'll have your stock accounts open, and you'll have a plan for your future. Your future self depends on your present self and what you do today versus how you're going to live tomorrow. I mean, you got to look out for number one. I know family matters and you want to take care of them, but there's no safety net. There's no guarantee that the government or your family is going to be able to support you in a time of crisis. You've got to learn to support yourself, and you've got to do it today. So, even if it starts with this little jar of money, if it starts here and it helps you to get used to doing this, then that's where you start. I hope you found value in this. Drop me a comment what you think. What is your saving habits? Have you started an emergency account? Do you know about investing? What thoughts can you share on my channel to help others on their financial freedom journey? And as always, thank you for joining me, and I look forward to seeing you next week.
Losing time